Hi everybody, Andrea Carvin here, and continuing our conversation on debunking some myths about pain. In yesterday's video, we took a few minutes and we were talking about what would happen if you had, for example, elbow pain, and that the pain isn't actually necessarily because your joints are old or broken down. So I'd like to give you another example today of what pain actually is and isn't. So I'm going to use this really cool little model. So let's think about this little bead here that doesn't move as your elbow joint, right? And let's say that it is degenerated a little bit. That's the term that's used when it's worn down, okay, which is a normal part of aging. And yesterday what I was sharing with you is just because you have a worn down cartilage does not create pain. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for joining us. So these are just a few minutes on debunking the myths of pain. So we have this little joint here, and we could have the other elbow that has worse degeneration and no pain. So why is that? So let's look at this. So we have our joint that's painful, but then we have, look at this, muscles, you see, that are working and acting on the joints. And it's actually the movement forces that are starting to play on that joint that could be telling the brain, oh, something needs to be paid attention to here, because that's what pain is. Something needs to be paid attention to. Then we can add another layer. So we'll pretend this is what we call in the medical field like fascia, right? And so we're moving things differently. And now we have the muscles starting to give feedback to the brain, and now we've got fascia saying, oh, this is an interesting way of moving. We haven't moved like this before. Is this okay? So that feedback is going to the brain. Then we have, let's say we're working at a computer and we have a deadline and we don't necessarily have the ideal setup for our fingers and hands, and then we play tennis afterwards. So now we've got not only something working here, but we've got tension up here and here, like in your neck and your shoulders, that are also giving feedback to the brain that something is off. So while you may have degeneration here, this is why you can have degeneration in your joints and no pain, because it's a decision that our brain makes. Number one, stress adds into it. How we move adds into it. Our skin, our fascia also give feedback to the brain. And what's brilliant about that is it makes it so much easier, particularly if you understand how your body works, to know how to address it and learn to move better. So another part that is really important and very much underlooked when talking about pain, and that's the relationship that pain has to releasing stress chemicals in our nervous system, okay? So stress chemicals will create pain if they're afraid there's a threat in that joint and they want you to move differently. It's going to hurt more. Okay, so in the video, if you listen to it, you'll hear some examples of how different types of work that people do may have people experience pain in different ways depending on whether you can continue to work or not, or what the threat is. So cortisol, which is often released when we're in stress and pain is stressful, it will tend to increase inflammation and swelling. And if you have inflammation and swelling, that's another thing to consider, because when we start to take apart and look at each of the different things that are talking to the brain. So we have pressure receptors and we have heat and temperature receptors, and all these things are talking to the brain, and the brain actually then decides, oh, I think we better pay attention here. I'm going to create some pain. So that's our little snippet for today. Hi, Beth. Wow, how fun. We were just talking about little known facts, debunking myths around pain that I use and practice at my brain-based clinic, and I'll be continuing to start to share these little fun tidbits because I've now learned to use Facebook Live, and this is really fun, and people benefit from knowing a lot of this stuff. I'll give you one example of someone I was working on about 2 years ago who came in, and they had a huge just pocket of water, bursitis, coming right from here, and they were saying, oh, I'm going to have to go get that drained, and I'm going to need to put a needle in because that's what the doctor does. And I was like, oh, really? Well, have you tried anything else? And they're like, no, that's the only thing. And there was no apparent injury. It was just a stress over and over again. And for whatever reason, we don't always need to know, that whole area of the elbow just froze up. So we did a couple techniques to talk to the brain, and within a day, just those few techniques addressing the fascia, addressing the movement, there was no more swelling because the brain was like, oh, okay, so you're moving better now, you're doing what you can do, let's reabsorb this water. And our bodies are designed for that. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions or you want to float by some of your own issues and learn some things about your own context of health and how you're trying to let go of pain and move back into your life, feel free to go on my website at innersparks.com. And you can sign up for an underlying cause session. It's free. I'm really just dedicated to getting more of this information out there to debunk the myths that we know in hard science and in neuroplasticity are really true about what pain is. We have a pain epidemic right now in our country with opioids and things, and it's not that we don't need them at certain times, but there's so much we can do that we want to reserve those really difficult things for when there really isn't any other options. Like right after a surgery, it's very appropriate to be on more pain meds. But the longer and farther we are out from acute injury, the more we want to start engaging our brains to help make different choices and move better. And that way we take care of our bodies and can lessen pain. So check out my video if you haven't on the 3 myths that keep you stuck, scared, and afraid you're never going to get better at innersparks.com. And you can also sign up for a free session. We can do it via Zoom and Skype, so you don't have to be in lovely downtown Middleton, Wisconsin in order to do an underlying assessment. So feel free to sign up for that. And I look forward to talking to you some more as we're going to be moving into what it means to adopt an athlete's mindset in service of being the most fabulous, wonderful, showing up bright and shining person that you are. So bye for today. Take care. See you soon. Have a fabulous day.